All right, welcome out to the Gridiron 64 podcast, where today we'll be breaking down the Rockport Fulton Pirate Miller Buck game that was played this past Friday. And oh boy, what a game it was! One of the best games I've seen in a long time, performed by both teams. But our Pirates, the Rockport Pirates, came through and won a nail biter. What a great game by both teams! But as I said, the Pirates take the win. We're 2-0, and with me to talk about this game, I've got the guys. They're back, Tony and Johnny. Tony, what's up?
What's up, man?
Johnny, what's up?
Good, doing good.
Are you guys ready to break down this game between our Pirates, the Rockport Pirates, and the Miller Bucks?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's go ahead and break it down. It was a great game, guys. All three of us were there. We saw what happened. A lot of things to talk about, but I'd like to start off with the offense. I think our offense performed well. What I'll say is it was a back and forth game, and it seemed as the game was going that the last team with the ball would win, and it almost came like that. But let's talk a little bit about the offense. Tony, I'll start with you. What did you see from the Rockport offense throughout the game that eventually got them to win? Because if Rockport had the final possession that they had in this game was crucial, and we got the TD. So, what was your take on Rockport's offense and what they did and what they were able to do in this game?
Well, like I said last week, you know, it it was going to be a close game. I picked Rockport to win. Rockport won. And it was going to be close, and it was gonna come down to turnovers. It was going to come down to possession, but offensively, I mean, the coaches had a great plan. They stuck to their weapons. They stuck to the ground game. And I think when you try to change what you do, to play a team offensively, I think that might uh, sometimes backfire. But man, coach did what he knows he can do is run the ball, and then of course the young QB man did an awesome job passing. I mean, he was throwing balls right on point. The receivers did a great job of going out and getting them balls. I mean, the O line freaking did amazing against some really oversized opponents right there on the D line. They did an amazing job of opening up holes and letting those running backs do what they do, and giving that quarterback time to throw the ball. So, I mean, total team effort on offense. I think it was. There's some things that need to get cleaned up. There was some things that oh, only 2 weeks worth of practicing or 3 weeks worth of practicing, whatever it is. It's going to take more to really perfect, and I think they'll get it. But when you go from week one to this game, I mean, man, 100% turnaround. I mean, 100% turnaround from only playing one half against AP to playing all four quarters, and that's what it took. It took them fighting from the beginning to the end. So great job to the Rockport Pirates.
Hey, Tony, let me ask you this question. But were you surprised that because I thought that Rockport had to get off to a good start. I actually thought that we would struggle a little bit, but that we had to quickly, and that's what I said on the part of when we were predicting this game. I thought that Rockport would come out a little rusted, a little the timing would be off, and I said, but we're gonna have to clean that up quickly. We're talking about either second or third position that we get that ball, because if we get behind 21-0, Rockport's just not gonna catch up.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen, Tony. What happened was they came out and they went down the field. I mean, it was a mix of Ryan Wells, Luke Merrihead, and then John Chupi on the outside. It's power and speed, and adding to the pass. But on that first drive, it was just run, and that side, the outside just happened to work. Whereas the 3 or 4 yards that Johnny talked about, that Rockport was going to need to gain, not so much looking to break every single time, but take those 3 or 4 yards. Don't look to try to get to the outside and get 25, 30 yards. If those 3 or 4 yards are to get them and grind this game out, that's exactly what Rockport did. But that outside part, was there pretty much the whole night. And we were able to gain 25, 30 yards. Were you surprised that we were able to get those big yards on that outside pretty much whenever we wanted?
Well, I don't want to say that I'm surprised. I want to say that I'm impressed. And the reason I say I'm impressed is because I know what those kids can do. I know what those boys can do. I'm impressed that from playing Aranza's pass to this game that they cleaned those handoffs off. I mean, in 4 days of practice. I mean that was my biggest concern. I mean, they had 12 fumbles just from handoffs against Aranza's pass that I counted. I mean, it might have been more. I don't know, but it was at least 12 fumbles just from handing the ball off, and man, to clean it up in 4 days. I mean, that's impressive. I knew the boys could do it if they had the ball. I knew they could do it. I mean, they had the speed, they got field vision. I've seen these guys play since they were little, so I knew they could do it. But I'm just impressed that they got to where they were for this game. I mean, that's just very impressive.
Hey, Johnny, Rockport passed. I don't know how many passes they had. You talked about, they've got to go, 3-4 yards, and it seemed like that's exactly what Rockport did. They took what was being given to them. We were gaining. I mean, Ryan Wells was hitting. I mean, as the game progressed, I mean, he was dragging 4 or 5 people on his back. I mean, they couldn't even take him down. And he was just getting 6, 7 yards, 6, 7 yards, which was putting that offense as the game progressed. It was almost like he was just catching fire and he was just getting on a roll, and they were giving him the ball. And he gets those 6, 7 yards on first down. Then you've got 2nd and 3. If you get 7, 2nd and 4. Now it's manageable for the type of offense that Rockport runs. I mean, that's a perfect time to throw a pass. What was your take on the run game and what the running backs were able to do, and then what we were able to do on the pass? Because some of those passes that were thrown, like as Tony said, man, they had to be perfect passes, and they were. And then our guys just going up there and making those catches. I mean, there were some incredible catches. So, what's your take on what our running backs were able to do? The run game when it was able to do, which was I think in that first possession we scored and we took like almost 4 minutes or maybe a little 4 minutes off that clock, which was big. But then what we were able to consistently do as the game progressed with the run and the pass.
I got to give it up to the O line. I mean, those were some big boys that we're facing, huge boys. Um, we just pounded and pounded and pounded. That's all you had to do against them. You know, I don't think they have faced anybody like our line, the heart of our line. I wouldn't say the size of our line, but the heart of the line we have. You know, we pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded, and you could tell by the end of the game, those big boys were getting wore out. You know, as you were saying, Wells was dragging these guys. You know, they they might be big, but they will wear down. You keep pounding, pounding, run, 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 run. You know, and I love the way how we spread it out through everybody. You know, nobody. There's nobody to focus on. There's nobody to pinpoint. We're gonna watch this guy. We're gonna watch number so so. You know, there's none of that for us. And that proved it right there. You have 3 100-yard rushers. You know, that's a spread out. That's a spread out run offense right there. You know, I was very impressed by those, just by the 3 100-yarders. You hear two, but you hardly even hear three running backs getting 100 yards. You might hear one that has 200, another one has a 100, but it's very rare you spread it out that much, and it shows you how control of offensive line can have. You know, um, the passing, man, Ace was just on target. I was very impressed by that. He had the perfect touches on passes, and I know he lasered one to somebody. I don't know if it was. I think it was a touchdown. He lasered one to somebody. I don't know the kid's name. That boy caught that ball, just no bounce off of him whatsoever. Just bam, bam. That that that's that's that takes a lot of practice. I guarantee you, there are probably two ones that just warm up every time. You know, how many people could catch a rope to your chest, without bouncing off your what do you call it, your shoulder pads off your chest. So that Ace has a rope and he has a good touch. It's and like I said in the last podcast was like we just ran this perfect amount of passes. We didn't go run and shoot with them. You know, we just took nothing but ball control. I was a little worried, but about the play clock. I thought we could have run down the play clock a little bit more. But like I said, the momentum was going for us. It's hard to slow down something like that. It's almost like you're calling a timeout to stop a momentum, stuff like that. That's what a defense usually does. So I was kind of impressed by that. So it's we look at the offensive line as far as being near the run attack, but Ace had a lot of time to pass back there. Through rollouts, yeah, you're going to run into a rollout with an outside linebacker or a corner, so you're going to have to avoid that. But he sat back there a few times, and he had time to throw. So I was very impressed by the pass protection by the O-line, too. Just overall, man, they went all out, These boys were down. It looked like Miller was going to take over in that second half, that third quarter, badly. The game just turned around. These boys did not give up. It's easy to give up something like that, but the hype was so high for this game. I knew these boys were not going to give up. So hats off to that O-line. That's a very impressive O-line on the rush and pass protection.
Absolutely. And I'll ask you this, Johnny, and then I'll ask Tony to answer this question. But I'll go to you first, Johnny. Ace, to me, this is a freshman. I mean, let's break it down. The kid was playing on Tuesdays last year. Okay, the speed of the game is so much different in 1 year than it was. I mean, he's seen everything at a way faster speed than it was when he was in 8th grade. In this game, he looked to me, and you guys tell me if I'm not wrong, but he just looked very confident in this offense. Like he knew where he was going with the ball. O-line gave him a lot of time, gave him some time to be able to, view that downfield and throw it. But he looked when he was making those throws very comfortable. It almost like he knew where he was going to go and he had time to throw it. Now, my question to you guys is, how did you see Ace? He hands the ball off, but he has to make this offense go because I thought that one of the things that was impressive to me was, and we'll talk about more about this when we get into the game plan, but he wasn't put in a position where he had to make a play. It wasn't a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15 where he's having to force a ball that could cause a turnover. And that's due to the running game. Like I said, man, we got into a lot of those very manageable 3rd downs where a lot of the times it was going to be, 2 down, 4 down territory where it was 4th and 2, we were going to go for it. So he wasn't put in a position with penalties and stuff where he had to throw big. But how impressed, Johnny, were you with Ace? And this is a freshman playing in a big game. His very first game, you bring a 5th ranked team that's bigger than you, and their quarterback has been around. How impressed were you with the way Ace handled the game plan? Because to me, he looked very comfortable in this offense. He knew basically when he was running the plays, I was watching him. It's almost like it was like riding a bike for him. He understood what he was supposed to do. This is your leader. This is the guy that makes the car, the train, so go, right? He's the heartbeat of your offense. How impressed were you with his ability to stay calm and be in control as the game was wearing down? Because remember, we were down. He had to make some plays to get us in the end zone. That's big for a freshman quarterback. And how do you see him moving forward? So I guess the question I'm asking is, how impressed were you with him and the way he managed and handled this game? And what do you see from him moving forward?
As you said, the most impressive thing I see is like he has adjusted to the speed of the game with no problem. As you said, he was playing on Tuesdays, last year. He comes into his first game against Aransas, and it showed. I hate to say this, but it showed he was playing as a freshman. I wouldn't say his passes and stuff like that, but just a little bobbled handoffs, the balls hitting his chest, balls bouncing off his hands on the shotguns. Had me a little worried about him. But man, he really stepped up to the hype of this game. I mean, not too many freshman quarterbacks going to face a number 5 team in the state of Texas to go up and calmly just stay back there and just lay out these balls out there with no problem. Waiting for these routes to open. I mean, you in the stands could see these receivers breaking open, and you're just like wondering if he could get it there. He just easily got it there, because us in the stands, we see the whole receiver start to break free, and it's there. And if he's gonna get it there, and he got it there with no problems and stuff like that. And we had the receivers did so great the fighting for the ball too, you know. Um, it's I'm very impressed because of the hype of the game. That's that and the speed. I mean, he ain't playing. He is not facing that. The speed he had last year. I guess you want to say. Um, this is a number 5 team defensive backs he was facing. So I was very very impressed by his performance compared to week 1. So I hope he still builds off this, and I hope he's not satisfied with it himself. Because you can never be satisfied with what you do. Just keep on building, keep on learning. You know, so we're always going to make that mistakes. He had that one mistake of trying to get rid of the ball because he felt a little too much pressure, and I guess he thought something was developing, and he just threw it, and he just threw it to the wrong people's hands. So, and you learn, he learns, he'll learn. Get those mistakes out of the way first.
Johnny, I would say this: when he made that turnover, I wanted to see how he would handle that. As a I wanted to see what the mental part of that game was. There was still some game left, and he showed what he could do. He came back and he drove Rockport right on down, and he did what was asked of him, and he put us in a position to win the game. And then, of course, we'll talk about the defense and how the game ended. But what a great performance from him. So, Tony, I'll ask you the same question. As a freshman quarterback, there's a lot right in this game. I mean, you've got a ranked team in the state of Texas coming into your house. He played big, didn't play like a freshman. He played big. He made the plays when Rockport needed him to make the plays. What was your take on the way Ace handled this game, this big game, how he played the whole game, and what do you see, or what's your expectation of him moving forward after seeing him in week 1, with 2 games actually this season?
Well, I remember Ace down in Little League. He was our quarterback in Little League, and he always seemed like he had I don't know more knowledge, or it seemed like he viewed the game differently than all the other 10, 11, 12-year-olds did. He's an extraordinary athlete. He really is. After the Rangers pass game, I'm not going to say I wasn't nervous about the speed change from junior high to varsity. I'm not going to say I wasn't nervous. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of fumbling. But he's got a good head on his shoulders, and I think that and one thing that I know about him is from Little League is if he made a mistake, he never let it get the best of him. I mean, he has short-term memory. You know what I mean? You brush that off and you get on to the next play. That's over. You can't do nothing about the past no more. And that's one thing I know about him. So and that was a few years ago now. So I imagine that his mentality is a lot more mature from back then, I imagine. So I am very impressed though that he was able to go head to head with one of the top quarterbacks in the area. I mean, the Miller quarterback is highly rated, and he's coming off of a great season last year. I mean, he's got the experience playing against some really big schools and some really big games, and Ace hung with him. Ace never let that hype get the best of him, and not just him, but the rest of the team. It didn't matter what happened last year. It mattered about what was happening that night, and they showed that they were ready for it. And I think Ace, as a freshman quarterback, it's a young football team all the way around. You have very few seniors on the team right now, so it's a young football team. So hats off to all of them. But yeah, Ace has been impressive from like I said, from game 1 to game 2. He's very very big turnaround.
And sticking with the offense, it looked like one of his favorite targets is harder. Number 8.
Mhm.
It looks like they've possibly been working out, I guess, together because it seems like they got some kind of chemistry going there because it seems like they both know what they're going to do. Their timing seems to be pretty good. This is a big target for
Big
him.
target.
He's over 6 foot. And he can catch the ball and he can run. And so now Rockport adds the pass. Now we haven't seen much of the pass. My guess is as the season progresses, you'll see more of those pass plays with the run, which is just make that offense of Rockport harder to cover, and it will become more aggressive. But we now add the passing, something we really haven't had the last couple of years. So I'll ask both of you guys, how important is this pass now, the passing attack that we're seeing here? We saw a couple of passes, a couple of good passes against Hernandez. We see more of that here against Miller. How important, Tony, is adding this passing? Because you've seen Rockport get to the third round the last 2 years without basically a non-existent passing game. So now it seems like we've developed one. How important is this going to be for us to move past the third round into the playoffs, past the third round, and possibly even get out of the region? I mean, how important is this to you, this passing attack that now, we have a quarterback, even though he's young, but we know we can pass. Mix that in with the run. How more dangerous of a team is Rockport with the pass than they were 2 years ago when we didn't have it?
Well, this is what I'll say. Uh, One of the things that we haven't really seen yet, and maybe you've got a glimpse of it, but Ace got some wheels. He's got some wheels. So I'm gonna repeat something Johnny said earlier. When you have 3 100-yard rushers, no, we can't be scouted. You can't say watch out for number 28 or watch out for number 20 or watch out for number 13 because now you got to watch out for number 1 and number 8. And that's what that does for us, and that's the advantage that we have going into the season and going into the postseason is if we keep balancing the ball between all these targets, whether it's a pass or whether it's the QB rolls out and runs with it, or you give it to one of the 3 main backs. I mean, we can't be scouted, and I think that's the advantage that we'll have, and I guarantee you once the QB gets more confident in the backfield and they start rolling out more and you start to see him run. I mean, that's going to be another running weapon. If you think about how many yards the Miller quarterback had, he had a lot of rushing yards. You know what I mean? When you're able to spread your defense out and get those receivers, now other teams got to worry about it. So now he has room to run, and he can get 5, 10, 15 yards because he's fast. He's fast. I've seen him run. He got some wheels. So I'm gonna say right now that this is going to be a great advantage that Rockport hasn't had in several years. It's an advantage. It really is, and it's very important. I think it's very, very important because when you start getting into the playoffs, they pass. So we're gonna have to be able to do what we do on the ground and be able to mix it up with that, and we can be scouted that way.
Absolutely. Johnny, what's your take on the first 2 games? I mean, you've seen more passing in the first 2 games, I think, against Hernandez and Miller than we saw all last year as far as his throwing. So we've added now the pass. Now, we haven't seen much of it, but we have seen some glimpses. We've gone down the field and we've made some patches, throws, and we've caught the ball. And so we've seen a little bit more passing than we had last year. How important is this passing attack now that Rock was able to possess? How much more danger is Rockport as a team with the pass than without the pass? I know that they are, but from what you've seen in the first 2 weeks, I know you've had to have been impressed with what you've seen so far early in the season. What's your take on what this passing now attack that we have? Can it get us past the third round of the playoffs and maybe even out of Region 4? I mean, how much more dangerous is Rockport as a team if they're hitting on the pass and the run?
Yeah, the passing is obviously going to open up that running game. You know, um, you need that passing game to have that running game. You know, if we ever get behind, we're going to need that long pass. We're not always going to rely on that run. You know, Then you start having more people in the box. You start keeping up your linebackers. You start keeping up your safeties. So you start tightening in your corners. It gets real tight. So that passing is always going to open up that run. And that was obvious. I mean, Ace, like I said, he was good on his passes. They were there. They were open. Their defensive backs were getting burned. And your linebackers are basically going to get kind of lost. Your linebackers got to play the pass too. They're not just there to cover the running backs. Tackle the running backs. The linebackers got to drop back. So you got to sometimes you kind of cheat your linebackers on teams that run, and that's probably what has happened to us in the past. People start getting tighter and tighter on our offense. So now they're going to have to rely on our passing now. So that passing's there. So they couldn't cover the pass. Obviously that run was there. So it's spread out everywhere. They just Miller couldn't do what just tighten up on us. So we had them on their toes, on their heels, pretty much, not their toes, their heels. So I think the pass is going to improve these rushers real good through the whole season. And as Tony has said, he can be a threat on the run too. We saw him roll out, and everybody in the stands just saw all the defensive backs were gone. They were gone because they got concerned over the pass. Well, because of that got him a first down, an easy first down. So that's what a lot of teams are going to do. They know we can pass, and they can see he can throw deep. So they're going to go deep, and so they're all going to, vanish. And there it is. A rollout, easy first down.
Well, I think Johnny too, and Tony, what it does is in the back of the mind, those linebackers got to be thinking, they can pass, and so it's there, and when you can run so effective like Rockport can, and like you guys said, there's 3 running backs right now, actually 4, that we saw in that Miller game. They can pour it on. We can go power in. We can go with the speed on the outside. You saw a sophomore also getting in there and running the ball. So there's plenty to pick from. And once you get that passing, and you don't have to pass 70% of the time, but if you pass 40% of the time, if you just show that you can pass, especially when you get those 6-7 yards on first down, and then you go down to 6, 2nd and 3 or something, that's a perfect time to be able, the way Rockwell runs that offense, you can either run and get that first down, or you can take a chance down the field, right? Because if you don't get nothing, you got 3rd down and short, and then you go 4 downs. Most of the time, our offense, we're on the field, and it's 4th and short, we're going for it. So that pass is so critical now to be able to have something that we didn't have the last couple of years. Now makes Rockport, to me, more of a dangerous team. So to me, great win. That offense, that was a team effort. 11 guys and the subs that came in just doing a great job of working together, the line blocking, the running backs, running hard and just keeping them off balance, not knowing who's going to get the ball next. And then adding a little bit of that passing, just really kept that Miller defense unbalanced. And the result was Rockport was able to win. So that offense looked great for not being able to practice, for the time that they were out, just getting, a couple of practices in before this big game. A lot of credit to those boys for coming out. They were ready for this game. They were hyped for this game, and they stayed focused, and they played for 4 quarters, and they were rewarded with the win. So great win. Offense looked really great. Hopefully that momentum will continue next week. Now let's talk a little bit about the defense. And Johnny, I'll let you take this one first. You were a defensive guy when you played for Rockport back in the 90s. What did you see from the defense? I mean, we know there's a high-power offense, and we talked on the podcast how our safeties are going to be tested. And then they had a running back that also ran as well. So overall, talk a little bit about the defense and what you saw from the defense. Some of the things you liked, some of the things maybe you had a little concerned about. What was your take on Rockport's defense?
That defensive line, our defensive line was not getting blown off that line. I mean, we made pretty much first contact right on the line of scrimmage. I mean, that was a big boy. That was a big running back that we had to face. I don't know his weight, but he looked like a good 240. That was a big boy. Our defensive line, I didn't see us get blown out. I didn't see no big old open hole. That boy had to fight for his yards. So our D line is there. We saw it against the Ranzis. They blew by that offensive line, and the O line for Miller ain't no joke, you know. And these boys hung in there. You know, they didn't get blown out. They stood their ground. You know, they stood. You know, they took care of their space. You know, to make that running back find a hole, find a tight hole. You know, he fought for his yards. He didn't get all his yards easily. You know, because I think almost every contact he had was right down the line of scrimmage. You know, but his big momentum it got him. You know, that was a good running back. He run low. You know, momentum going forward. He's gonna go forward. He's gonna fall forward. You know, he didn't run high. You know, that was a good, strong, powerful, smart running back. Um, I was very concerned about our defensive backs this game. You know, I mentioned that. You know, as far as history of Rockport, I've never known Rockport to have a great defensive back. But I guess that goes on with all high schools. You know, your college defensive backs are usually your running backs, your famous running backs from high school. You know, nobody really gets recruited as a defensive back. Uh, but just the young defensive backs we had, and because we faced the Rangers, that was the only test, which wasn't no test whatsoever. I was very concerned because of the Miller high power, powerful pass deep offense. You know, we saw that first drive, that first long pass, and I was like, oh great, this is going to be a very long, high scoring game. You know, I was not giving up on our boys, but I was worried that we weren't going to be able to stop that pass of theirs. You know, but I think these boys got their jitters out. These defensive backs got their jitters out, and these boys were, dude, we're a lot shorter than them on the receivers. It was obvious, and I just thought many times they were going to like out jump us on many of those. Our defensive backs basically just overpower these receivers. I mean, our little boys, our strong-hearted little boys, jumped with them, intercepted balls that weren't even. I mean, when you catch a ball, when you catch a ball in your chest, you fall down on your back. That's interception. You know, you don't go where the offensive player don't have no right to wrestle you up for that ball after you fall down. You know, and we all know what we were talking about. One play on that one. Um, we saw knockdowns, great knockdowns. You know, we know we're not going to be able to intercept that ball. That ball's at the very top. You know, these boys jumped up, knocked many balls down. You know, it was great seeing these defensive backs doing that, and I was very impressed by our defensive back. Just proved me totally wrong. You know, um, I did notice some once that third quarter started. I did notice that they started getting a little momentum on their side, stuff like that, and our defense got huddled up on the sidelines. I did notice that, and I believe we changed a little game plan as far as that goes. And because from there on, Miller had a very terrible job of trying to move the ball on us after that, after their momentum changed in the third quarter. You know, so hats off to the coaches. You know, apparently there was some adjustments going on in that second half. You know, so hey, all around, all great defensive line stuck there. You know, we didn't blow by that offensive line like we did at Rangers, but we did not get blown away. Like I said, first contact was on that line of scrimmage. You know, before the linebackers even got there. So it was great to see all around defensive work, especially our defensive backs. Very impressed by our defensive backs.
Tony, what did you think about Rockport's defense throughout the game? What was your take on
it? I think that you know, they were battle tested in all facets of the game. I mean, they were battle tested on the run, they were battle tested in the air, and my main concern is I was not really concerned about anyone's run game. You know, I know Miller has a run game, but I wasn't really concerned about it as much as I was the pass. So I was a little bit concerned about the DBs and I mean I think the safeties and the corners I think they did a good job helping each other out. You know, we had turnovers, you know, tackles and you know they did a great job. I mean the coaches did a great job of preparing the boys. You know, you know I had confidence in them even though I was a little concerned. I had confidence in those boys. They though I know them kids. You know they have a lot of heart. I remember them again little league. I mean those kids have a lot of heart. They play with a lot of heart. You know we've always Rockport's always been an undersized team. You know we might have a couple of big guys. We've always had an undersized team, but these guys, these group of men, man, they play with big hearts, and that's what it took to play against a caliber team like Miller. I mean, they showed what they can do. I don't think they just stunned Miller. I think they stunned Texas. I mean, I seen a lot of reports, and I think everyone in Texas was stunned. That the number 5 team, in Division 4A, Division 1, was defeated by an unranked team. And I heard one of them report say, hey, maybe Miller's overrated, and but what if Rockport's underrated? And I feel very confident that Rockport is very underrated. I think that we have a lot of good football left to do. We have a lot of weapons. We got a lot of young players that are stepping up and already doing good. So, man, offensively and defensively, I think it's looking good for Rockport.
I'll tell you this, Tony. One thing that surprised me about these guys is we knew that Miller was going to score. I mean, you weren't going to come in and shut this down. And I said that on the podcast. Listen, they scored. There's still a lot of you just get right back on the field. What I saw from that defense was every play they were giving it 100%. Those backs, they lost some battles. You come down, like you said, there's one questionable interception that's given to Miller. We could have easily, got out of focus, lost our cool, but we didn't. We kept playing. We kept making plays. We got a couple of interceptions when they were driving. They killed their drive. These guys, it was very impressive to see that they stayed focused. Even when there was a big game, even when Miller, came down, we scored at the start of the game. They come down. I think it was 3-4 plays. Boom, they're in. You're like, whoa. And those backs could have simply said, "Hey, man, you know what?" But they continued to play. They continued to stick with it. They continued um, to stick to the game plan. That's the big thing. You stick to that game plan. You make adjustments as you go. Somewhere along the line, something's going to go for you. And it did. As they were driving, you saw an interception that killed the drive. So you lost some battles, you won some battles, but you stuck to the game plan. And the end result was you won. I mean, this is a very high-power offense with some good receivers, a great quarterback that can come in and just score. They had scored, 60-plus points in the 2 previous games. What was to say that they can come in and do this to Rockport? But they didn't. We were ready. We were focused. These guys, they wanted to play. You can have athleticism, but you got to be ready for these games. And there's a mental part to football, not just that athleticism. And this whole team, offense, defense, special teams, everybody was on the same page in this game. And they had to be to win, and they did. It was great to see. Props to that defense. I think our defensive line, they're going to have another big test coming in this Friday. We'll see how they do. But through 2 games, that defense has looked very, very impressive. And now we know that our secondary can play. After playing a high power like Miller, we get into the playoffs and we see the pass. This is the confidence the kids need. You showed this video to these backs when you get into those playoffs and you say, look, we did this once. You're capable of doing this. We got to get the same performance. So it was great to see that defense. I think that defense is going to be something that's going to be very spectacular. And we need a defense. When you go deep in the playoffs, you can have a really good offense. We talk about the offense and the 3 backs that we have and how we can get 100 yards possibly from all 3. We talked about our quarterback and he can run if need be, how we got the pass. But you got to have a good defense. Your offense isn't always going to be on. They'll struggle at times. The running game will struggle. So it's that defense that keeps you in those ball games. And Rockport seems to have a defense this year. Last year was the same thing. We keep seeing every year it gets better for the offense and the defense. So, this Rockport program is growing. These boys are believing in the system. And it was just great to see those backs challenge those receivers from Miller. We didn't step back, man. They were challenging them. I mean, it was right up there. Hey, you're going to beat me, but I'm going to be right up in your face. It was great to see that type of aggressiveness from these boys. The D-line just playing hard every game. Those linebackers right there. Like I said, that back from Miller was big. He was gaining 4, 5, 6 yards, but he was getting hit. There was contact at the scrimmage, at the line. And then of course he was big and he could get through. But we were making contact. He wasn't going 5, 6 yards before somebody made contact. So that D line is playing tough. I anticipate that they're going to continue to play that way. So it looks good, guys. We do got another type of opponent coming in this week, and we'll talk about that during the our prediction segment. But great win for the Pirates, and that defense showed up. times we got beat, but at times we made the plays that we needed to stay in the game. So it's a great defense performance from them guys. Props to those guys, and let's see if we can continue as the season goes. Johnny, I'd also talk a little bit about the special teams. We always talk about the special teams. There was an onside kick that I didn't even expect, when we were scoring. Great call by the coaches. You saw that onside kick. I don't think anybody in the stands thought that Rockport was going to do that. But it was a great kick. And you know what I especially liked? They never lined up. It's kind of like they were huddling. Then they kick and boom, they take off,
Yeah.
They were well prepared for it. Miller was not. The end result was we got the ball. You don't see too much of that, or at least in the past I hadn't seen that. I think it was a great call because, you want to get ahead, and we were able to get ahead. What did you think about that call at that time to make that
The,
onside?
the thought of even doing that at that time of the game, I mean, I think it caught everybody by surprise. I mean, there might have been some coaches on the sideline that probably didn't even know that was going on, because that's something unusual. It's you just think it's just to go back and forth, just battle back and forth, and when you just get that onside kick, just attempt the onside kick was just perfect. I mean, it was everybody's huddled up. You're everybody's expecting just to break and everybody spread out. But no, these boys came out of that huddle and boom, there it is. Like, I think it probably just froze everybody. They weren't expecting it. And that was, I think that was a big key, big momentum change right there. You know, Everybody talks about that last touchdown, but if it wasn't for the onside kick, we would have never been that one touchdown closer to that win, because it probably would have been a back and forth. If we would have just regular kicked off to them, they probably could have just scored again like they had been all night. But to get that momentum to where like you get that 2-10 or 1, you're gonna win the ball game that way. So that I think I just kind of did forget about that onside kick. That was probably the win of the game right there. You know, just a decision like that puts you up that 2-1 score right there. So I think that was a great, great, great call. Perfect timing, just all around. Just I just was very shocked, very happy about that. Um, kickoff, kickoff returns. Um, it was just regular. I didn't see no needs improvement. I didn't see bad coverage that I could recall really that stood out. Um, we do see that we have a kicker as a field goal kicker now, very consistent, has a leg on him. Um, I was very impressed by that. I was a little worried because of that first game we didn't attempt any field goals, So you got to have that. I mean, you can't always rely on those 2 points, So it makes me feel more comfortable. We actually have a kicker, and he was consistent all night. You know, um, one mishap turned into one of those bloopers. So-called made in a playbook play. The 2-point conversion. With the height on the ball going high and him tossing it and then throwing it, a desperate pass that reflected to one of our other players, caught up for that 2 point. Right there, just these kids were on cloud 9 right there after that, Such an intense game for that 2-point conversion. Just these boys were just all in it. Their hearts were on it, A team like our caliber just running something like that going our way, you can't ask for anything better, A desperate pass that just deflected into our own hands was just great, I am a little worried. I'm not saying I'm worried, but I would like to see an improvement on our defensive field goal team. Um, there was no pressure whatsoever on their kicker. Uh, many, I think after every touchdown, maybe one snap was good, but every snap was high and slow. I mean, there was no pop to it. That ball went back there so slow and high. It was one thing going slow, another thing for the holder to catch it high, and to bring it down. that was a lot of time. And that kicker kicked it low every time. But the thing is, there was no pressure whatsoever. It's like we're kind of like expecting them just to make it. I don't know if it's the same D line that we have playing on the field. I really didn't pay attention if they swap out or not. But for the D line, if it is the same D line and as powerful as great as they are exploding through that line, I don't see why they're not doing it on the field goal kicking. Because there was many times I know we could have blocked those kicks. And I know in previous past we always used those little speedsters on the outside to crawl around and try to dive for that block. And I did not see that one time this game. And that one point could be crucial, way down the line. You want to block that kick. I'm not saying that we're going to face another team that was real slow about snapping that ball and terrible at snapping that ball. I mean, I think that was the most real. I thought that was a terrible snap every time, because it was slow and high, and that's one of the easiest things to block. So I hope to see a little improvement on the defensive field goal unit as far as pressure. You don't get there, but there was no attempt whatsoever, especially out there against Miller. So I think that will hurt Miller down the line somewhere, where they're going to need that field goal, and they're going to hurt.
Absolutely. And Tony, I would ask you what your thoughts were on the onside kick at the time of the game, and then talk a little bit about, like Johnny was saying, we got a field goal kicker now, freshman as well. So we've got two freshmen on this varsity team playing some crucial roles, right, for us to get these victories. But what was your take on the onside kick at the time that the call was made? Obviously, we got the ball, so Miller didn't expect it. And talk a little bit about our field goal kicker. One of the things I was impressed about was they have speed, so when we scored and we kicked it, there was no return, right? Which I think was great for our defense. They don't start at the 50 or get a breakaway touchdown. So I think that was impressive, and I think you totally kick it as hard as you can out of the end zone if you can. Give our defense a chance to get settled in and have these guys have to go down the field. But on that onside kick, do you make that call because you say they're a high-power offense? I mean, take a chance. They can probably come down and score on this anyway at any time. Well, not any time, but they have the ability to do that. So, what was your thoughts on the onside kick at the time that it was done? And talk a little bit about this field goal kicker that we got on this varsity team. Now, it's really just a freshman.
Well, I think that the onside kick at that time maybe was surprising a little bit, but I don't think that it was. I think that they need to do stuff like that, and the reason I say that, it doesn't surprise me a whole lot, but I'm glad they did it when they did it. The reason I say is because whenever they started passing, I don't know if y'all remember, it was on first down. And I was telling my father, and I was like, man, if they start passing, they need to do it on first or second down, just to throw off, because we were running the ball so well. They hadn't passed yet, and the first pass was on first down, and it was, I don't know, 25, 30 yards or whatever. And I was like, see, I told you, got to be on first down. And a lot of teams, unless you're a passing team, don't normally throw on first down, especially when you got the running attack that we have. So I think that doing an onside kick like that and that time, because I think I don't remember exactly. I think we were ahead when we did that, so it wasn't at a time where we needed it, but it was at a time where they didn't expect it, and that's what we need to do. We need to be unpredictable, and I think that does that for us. Now that freshman kicker, I think he needs to be put in a position to be able to make a kick like that or a play like that when we need it, when the game is on the line. You know what I mean? At that time, like I said, I think we were winning, and I don't think we needed it, but it puts him in the position to be in that situation, you know what I mean, and be successful. And then as far as field goals, I mean, I think there was a 4th and 4 where we went for it and we turned the ball over and we were like on the 20, 25. I would like to have seen the field goal kicker put in a position to make a crucial field goal, because I seen him in warm-ups. He's got a leg. I mean, he's got a leg on him. And I would like to see, because again, once you start playing, once the playoffs start, you need 3 points, you need those extra points, and I would like to see him be put in that position to make those plays. Had he missed it, it still would have been Miller's ball regardless. And we ended up rolling out, and I think that was one where we just threw the ball away because there was nothing there. I would just like to see him put in a position to be in a big game and have to make that crucial 3 points. And I think that would have been the icing on the cake for special teams, because other than that, I think they did good. For freshman to freshman on that bobbled field goal attempt, or PAT attempt. Freshman gets the ball. He's like, oh, here to the other freshman and to the quarterback, and he makes that tough throw. I mean, the decisions, the situations, and the way they handled them. It just says a lot about the young men and the mentality that those guys have, and the coaches instill in them. I think that Rockport's doing a lot of things good right now, and man, I'm just so impressed in the win. I'm so impressed, not surprised, because I felt like they were going to win. I'm just so impressed at the way they handled the tough situations they had to handle.
Well, I'll tell you this. We go back to that one play where they hiked the ball over Ace's head when we kicked the extra point, and the field goal kicker, right? He's like, "Wait, the ball's in my hands. Hey, listen, this is not my job. I'm not supposed to do this. I don't know what's going on here, but
He goes,
here
here,
you go,
take
Ace. Here you go, man. You take it over. This is not what I signed up for." But yeah, absolutely. Ace then having the ability to throw it up and giving us a chance to make something happen. That's what's impressive. You don't know what's going to happen. In this case, we got the 2 points. That was much neat. That play ended up playing a big part of the win. But that's another thing that Rockport brings in is you've got somebody that in the quick thinking, you throw it up and you give us an opportunity uh, to make the play. You give the receivers the chance. And sometimes it goes our way, and sometimes it doesn't. But now we seem to have that ability. I can tell you guys that it was kind of funny. I laughed when I saw it because it looked funny. It was like, he looked at it. Most guys that get the ball, they're gonna run, right? Most guys that are gonna field goal kickers, they get it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go try to score, man. And he just like wanted no part of this. This is not what I signed up for. I'm supposed to be kicking field goals. There you go. You do something with it. So it was funny to see, but and again, it was great that we were able to get the 2 points. The last part that I like to talk about before we end this part of the podcast is talk about the coaching. And I on the podcast I've said, Coach Seibert's time here in Rockport has been very successful so far. He's been here. This is, I believe, his 7th year. I think I'm correct on that. He's been here 6 full seasons outside of this one, and he's made the playoffs the 6 times that he's been. I think 3 times he's gone to the second round, and 3 times he's gone to the third round. And he's got 2 district titles under his belt. So we know that he prepares these guys well, but I think this is a game where I think was probably the best preparation I've seen in the 6 years. The boys just look very prepared offensively and defensively and special teams. I mean, this was a coaching. I mean, everybody did their part. They prepared these guys so well. First of all, I think there was a great game plan. There was a formula that was used, right? This is how we think we can beat Miller. And the boys bought into that and they practiced that way and they believed in what they were being told. They were ready for the test. Talk a little bit, Tony, about the coach's part in this victory. Jay as a head coach, Coach Seibert as a head coach, putting this game plan because it all starts with him and it ends with him, right? And then talk about, Coach Robbins. This I think his second year as defensive coordinator. And I got to say, I was very impressed last year because this defense is becoming very aggressive. We were not aggressive the last couple of years. This is a defense that's very aggressive. We saw the corners come up. They're playing with confidence. And so I'm very impressed with his defense as well. And then the special teams coach. And then the offensive line, just all the coaches in general, talk a little bit about their game plan and how well they prepared the kids, and they put a game plan well together to beat this Miller team that's ranked fifth in state and was so high powered. And they didn't even get to the 50s. They didn't even break the 50. They barely broke the 40s. That's impressive. Not only is the win impressive, but it was they just barely got over 40 when they were scoring 20 plus more points a game. Talk about the coach's preparation for these boys to win this game.
Well, all the coaches did a great job. I think I'm glad that they didn't try to change their offense all the way around. You know, they stuck with the run. You know, and if you think about it, and I went to the Cincinnati and Miller game, and Miller changed their offense, and they shouldn't have done that because they should stick with what works for them. And again, if you were at the Sinton game, they they threw the ball 80% of the time, and they didn't do that. They didn't do that against Rockport. They try to run with us, and I think that was their mistake. And Jay, decided, hey, we're a running team and we're gonna run the ball. And I think before the season started, I think they knew they were gonna pass more. Uh, and knowing that his ace has an arm, so I think I think that he did a good job there. And Coach Robbins, I mean, the defense, I mean, to start off almost from scratch, you graduate a lot of seniors off the defense and just put people in position to fill in and do as well as they did against that kind of a caliber team. I mean, it says a lot about his coaching. I know he has good help in with his DB coaches. I know he's got some good help back there. And special teams. I'm sorry, I don't know who the special teams coach is. I should know that. I'm gonna find that out. But man, I mean, I think collectively, Coach Seibert has put together a really good group of coaches. Because man, I mean, it took every set of 11 men on the field, where there was kickoff return, offense or defense. I mean, it took every time 11 men went on the field to win this game, because everyone just executed. Everyone executed minimal mistakes. I know last week I said they're going to win this game uh, by whoever gets the most turnovers and whoever makes the fewest mistakes. And I know it didn't seem like Rockport made the fewest mistakes with all the flags that we had. I mean, I don't know. I can't say nothing about that because I didn't see those mistakes from the stands. I mean, but maybe I missed something. Maybe I blinked. It looked like we made more mistakes than we did because there was a lot of yellow on the field. But I mean, it was a well executed game by the coaches, and man, the players, just did a great job executing the plan. So,
Johnny, what would you say about preparation that the coaches did in this game to put Rockport in a position to win the game, which is what they did? What was your take on the coaches' preparation for this game?
Well, it's almost like I'm kind of repeating myself on this. They just had to run with the ground game, you know, and that's like Tony was saying, that's good that they didn't get away from their original game plan, which is the run. That's the only thing it's going to go through every game is preparing all the run games and stuff like that. I just I was very impressed by the passing. Like I said, I think it was all around balance. I had no leeway or nay or yay about either way. Um, I mean, whoever we go with cyber and stuff like that, but whoever's the O line coach has been working these boys real good. Opening up these holes real big, and that's one thing I've always been. I was running back in my days, but I was no running back without that O line. You get me that hole, I'm gonna get through there. I guarantee that's how these backs are running. You know, they get out there in the free, they're gone. So a lot of hats off to the O line coach, whoever that may be. Um, as Tony wants to know the special teams, I want to know the O line coach. Um, defense, defensive wise, is I was very impressed. Like I said, these boys were very prepared. We we scouted Miller real great. There was, I wouldn't say busted plays, but it was just well developed passing plays, routes that they had. They just beat us. You know, Um, I did notice a few times where like we were set up as like a zone defense, and I think a lot of us saw that all of a sudden right when the quarterback got under center, it's bam, we went man to man. Like we're right there. You know, we're gonna challenge. We're basically challenging you to beat me. You know, man on man, let's do it. You know, and that looked great, and I love that. You know, just sitting back 5, 6 yards back, playing like you look like a zone, and right when that quarterback gets up there, bam, you know, you change the game plan. You know, a lot of times when they did run it a few times. You know, I don't know if y'all noticed that our defensive corners were a good 10, 15 yards back. You know, so that was an easy little slant for them. You know, a little curl for them. You know, a lot of times with that backside end zone down that sideline, they kept running that same thing. You know, we were too soft, but hey, you mix it in. You know, it's like a chess game. You know, sometimes you're gonna play back, sometimes you're not. But we didn't always play back. You know, we always there was times that quarterback went right under center, and bam, we were head up with that. You know, receiver might have changed up, might have messed up their passing game a little bit with that way. You know, you would think you're going to run a certain play, you see somebody your corner right there, a quarterback right there on your receiver is like, oh, that slant's not going to be there anymore. You know, so I was very impressed by that. I didn't see that before, and I haven't seen that in the past really. You know, as far as the quarterbacks getting butt up right there, right where the center gets on the corner gets on the center. Uh, as far as special teams, coach is don't know whose decision it was. I'm pretty sure it was Cyber's decision on that onside kick, but you know, it takes a special teams coach to teach these kids, you know, how to run down there. You know, get that huddle. You know, they performed it perfect. You know, I like that. You know, these kids were very taught well about how to do that. You know, it ain't just a huddle and you go and run after it. You know, it's timing. You know, it's timing. It's like, you know, it's kind of like ready, set, go. You know, you can't just get up there and like give it away. You know, you're gonna start running up there, they're gonna catch it. But it was like perfect time for all that. Um, hey, we see that like field goal kicker kicks. You know, he was. I'm pretty sure he goes through a lot of practices with that. And you know, I was very impressed with all the coaches all around. You know, these kids were very prepared. And you notice I mentioned about the little sideline adjustments. It seemed like the defensive coach, were working with the defense guys in that third quarter because it looked like Miller was going to pull away in that third quarter. Uh, that adjustments, I believe, on that sideline helped these guys out a lot. And so our coaches were really informed and we're not going to go down, you know. So we made our own adjustments. I'm pretty sure they did. We made our own in the third quarter. So whatever they did and whatever we countered it, you know. So hey, we got like Cyber has a good set of coaches here on this town.
He does, and I'll end it with this. One thing we don't talk a lot about, and I know I don't talk a lot about this game, what I saw, but those coaches that sit up on that press box, you know, they're the ones seeing what's going on, and they're the ones that have to go down and tell these coaches, you know, on the field what they see up there so they can make these adjustments because they've got the best view up there, right? So we don't give a lot of credit to these coaches that sit up on the press box up there, but they're the ones that have to make the adjustments into the game and as the game flows, as it goes through the four quarters to make the adjustments to give Rockport a chance. So props to those guys, you know, for the job that they did against Miller. And then the other thing that I think we don't give a lot of props to is the scouting. You talked about the scouting report. You know, we had that scouting Miller and come up with those weaknesses. You know, those scouting coaches that go up there and scout Miller. And I'm sure we were scouting them since week one. Did a really good job of coming back, and this is what they do. However, they do that, it was great because we were able to move the ball on these guys consistently through four quarters. It was very hard for them to shut down the run game. So props to all the coaching staff. What a great game plan. We're going to need to do it again next week because we got another strong opponent, just as strong as Miller. Maybe they're not ranked up at that high, but believe me, they're coming in with some power. This is a very good football team. Rockport will be playing next week, so it'll be 2 weeks in a row. I actually think that the next couple of games we're getting district are going to be hard for Rockport, but we've got another strong opponent next Friday. We'll talk more about that later. But guys, it was great. You know, this is the part where we break the Rockport game, just the Rockport game down. The offense, defense, you know, penalties, We talk about a little bit about the players and what they did, and the special teams and everybody, the coaches, everybody has contributed to a win. This past week was a big win for Rockport in their program, and hopefully it'll continue, and we can get a good winning streak going in to district, and then continue to win and take that win into the playoffs. So before I shut it down, guys, is there anything you want to add, Tony, before I shut it down?
Oh no, man, just just like they did Friday, just keep playing 4 quarters of football, man. Just keep fighting for each other on the field and listen to the coaches because, I mean, they have the game plan and you just got to execute the plan. You know what I mean? And just keep playing 4 quarters of football. I mean, just very very impressive.
Absolutely, Johnny. Anything you want to say before we end it tonight?
Before I say anything about conclusion, I would like to ask y'all what y'all thought about the referees.
Tony, you can go first.
I
By the
hate
way, Tony, before you go, by the way, I don't think we get fined for saying anything with the rest. So just let it out, man. Let your frustration out. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I never like to say that a team won or lost because of referees, but I mean, that was some of the worst officiating I've ever seen. I mean, there was it started off when the player got kicked. I'm like, and they flagged it and then they waved it off. I don't get what the reasoning was behind that. I mean, it from then on, I was like, man, this is gonna be one of those games, this was like it's like if they were giving the game to Miller, like giving Miller extra chances. And I hate to say that because I hate to say that a call changed the game. I hate to say that. But man, there was a lot of calls that really did change the momentum. And the Pirates, man, they just kept fighting and they didn't let that get the best of them. I mean, I know it kind of looked like it sometimes. The coaches on the field trying to argue his point, and I'm glad that he did that. I mean, but it's gonna happen. There's going to be plenty of calls this season that ain't going to go our way. But the way the boys answered back and finished the game is just, I mean, that's just a whole nother level right there. I mean, a whole nother level of confidence or, just I got so much respect for the way they finished the game despite all of that, all of those calls.
Johnny, what was your take on the refs?
I thought that kick should have been. I have never ever seen a wave get flagged for somebody kicking somebody. I don't know what that was about. There is no excuse me as far as that goes. There's no judgment on that. Okay, and to be that referee that threw that flag, I'm assuming it was probably the umpire. I think that's who it was. But to get overruled over your call over something like that, that makes that referee, umpire, whatever he was, make him look bad. I mean, you being a referee, you got to stick up for your call. You don't want to be overturned. If you see it and it's something obvious like that, you got to stick for your call. You make yourself look bad as far as why you threw that flag, and then you're making it bad looking for your crew that you got overturned over a certain call. So my thing was why was that overturned? I mean, why didn't this referee that threw the flag defend himself? He made himself look bad, not because of the overall what they decided to do, but he made himself look bad. And everybody knows a kick like that is automatic ejection. So what kind of pull did that coach for Miller have on that? With his argument from the sideline. Why was he arguing over something that was obvious? I don't know. It wasn't like one of those called a targeting thing where it was judgmental. This was obvious, a kick. Then there was that interception or so-called reception by them that we intercepted the ball where you catch it in your own bread basket and you fall down on your back on top of them. You're down by contact. There was no catching the ball at the same time and the ball goes over to the offense. There was none of that. You know, he caught it right in the basket, fell in, and he lost the ball underneath. You know, somehow it ain't no fighting after that. You know, you have that ball in possession, you fall, you're on top of him, ball's dead. You know, play's dead. You know, I don't see why they were arguing about something like that. You know, there's no fighting over the ball. It ain't a fumble. You know, it ain't like he ran the ball, the ball popped out, and you're fighting for that ball under the pile. You know, that's a possession turnover right there. Uh, and we're all lost with that. Well, the other thing was like the whatever it was called on their coach, whether uh, I wouldn't say it was probably like a unsportsmanlike by the coach or something like that. I don't know why even throw the flag if you're not going to go with it. You know, that made that referee look terrible. You know, if he wanted to give a sideline warning, give him a sideline warning, but don't be throwing a flag and trying to wave that thing off. You know, it must be a young crew. You know, I hate talking bad about refs, but them too got to learn from their own mistakes. You know, you're playing with teenagers' heads. You know, that's big. I mean, these guys are fighting hard. You know, but there's a difference between judgment calls and obvious calls, or making calls you shouldn't make. You know, like if you wanted to call a play about I don't know, a sideline warning, fine, call it. You know, but don't be throwing a flag and then waving it off. You know, that's just you got to learn from that. You're making yourself look even worse that way. You know. Then there was a whole everybody knew about the whole chain thing. You know, that was pathetic. That was very pathetic. And again, the referees that they must not work together. That must have been their first game ever to work together, because I looked on the film again, and that sideline judge that was on our side, he noticed those chains weren't moved, and he was trying to wave it over and over to get it waved over. He heard all our coaches. He knew what was going on, but the other referees wouldn't listen to him. You know, he tried. He tried to wave them over. Second down came. Third down came. He stopped. He stopped waving them. You know, it was done. I think when third down came, we were showing second down, and that's when he was showing his third down. He was the only one that was on point. All the other referees were not. You know, again, these referees need to work together, not against each other. And he didn't fight for his words. He needs to stick up. You know, make yourself present. Stop the game. Don't let that, just because he has a white hat, don't make him run the game. You know you're right. Stop the game. Make it right. You know, what it was like, I was kind of looking at it and stuff like that. Why the ball was moved forward, it was called a holding on us. You know, so when the ball got moved forward, it got moved for a first down for them. You know, because that first play was that run play that fumbled. You know, supposedly we got help for holding. I don't know how or what, but that was the call, was holding. So it went 10 yards up. That gave him a first down. You know, so from there, the chains never moved. You know, the guy that was in front, that he wanted to move. He showed that he wanted to move, but the other guys didn't move. He was ready moving, but they stopped him from moving, and that threw the whole thing off. It's just the chains never moved. I mean, if you break it all the way down, you know, as plays went on, I looked at it. They actually had it. We actually had them on 4th down and 6 from the 10-yard line. You know, when we swapped over to the other side. Now, would they had to gone for it for the another play, or would they had to kick the field goal? That would have been a big difference. Would you go for it 4th and 6 from the 10, or kick a field goal? Now, the next play, they did get enough to get past the original first down, which was the 4-yard line. But that whole thing was confusing. It was confusing everybody. It was all had to do with the chain crew moving over. That sideline judge was waving it for 2 plays. The guy holding the chains, was ready moving it, but they stopped him. So he came back. And so it just messed everything up. I mean, why be a ref if you're not going to stick up for yourself? Is what I'm saying. You know, yeah, you're going to have bad calls. You're going to have judgment calls. But stuff like that, these refs got to stick up for themselves. You know, it wasn't all of them. One of them was, they basically got to work together, is what I'm saying.
Well, you know, Johnny, I'm glad you explained that, and I watched you, and I know you were keeping an eye on it. You don't want to lose a game that way. And the coaches from Rockport, they were all, I mean, they were all saying the same thing you were saying, you know. So it was being explained to them. I mean, we took minutes of this game trying to explain. I mean, I think Coach Seibert and the rest of his assistants were. I mean, he did everything he could. They just weren't listening. He was explaining. I mean, I wasn't on the field, but he took a bunch of time to try to explain to them what the problem was. And they just weren't. It seemed to me, from where I would sit, that they weren't paying attention or trying to even look into it. And that would be a bad way to lose. I think Miller scored anyway, and you know, if you lose because of a call like that, if you lose by a touchdown, that hurts on either side. You know, we won the game, but still the officiating, like you said, it was bad throughout this whole game. A lack of communication, a lot of questionable calls. I mean, you leave that game. If you're a Rockport fan, you leave that game saying, "Hey, we won," but you still have a bad taste in your mouth with this officiating because you know it was bad. I mean, anybody that goes and watches high school football or has played the game knows, or next coach knows what's going on. And so our coach is trying to get that out, trying to correct it. And what it seems like is they're not paying attention to. It's got to be real frustrating. What I will take that's positive from this is the kids can see the coach fighting for them. You know, fighting for us, not just letting it go. You know, I'm gonna take it to the end, whether I get the call or not. I'm gonna fight. That's what he did. These kids see that. I know when I play ball, man. My coach fights for me. That gives me some energy to go out there and whip some ass. You know what I'm saying? When I see my coach out there fighting for me and the players and saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go out there, coach. I got them. I'm gonna give you 110%. You know, so I know that the kids really saw that and appreciated their coaches out there. But you know, not getting the call, man, that's awful. I mean, you're a ref, you should know these things. And if you make a mistake, you really need to be listening to what's going on. Whether you agree or don't, correct the mistake if you made it. It's the right thing to do. Let these boys play, make it a fair game, you know. And like you said, Johnny, you know, calls are missed. You know, there's some things that happen. A fumble may happen, or something, and it is a fumble, and you just didn't see it, and you do the best you can. But when it's kind of like a kick and everybody sees it, and you wave off the flag, I mean, you know, things like that where you said that should be an ejection of that player. You know, that's an aggressive move, and you don't, and there's no penalty, and you throw a flag, and then you wave it off. I think that happened twice. I could be wrong. I think it happened twice in this game. Like you said, that's bad. And then this call on the change that you just explained, it's just bad officiating. And I'm just like you two guys. I hate to talk about the refs. I know they come out here and do the best job they can. But this was pretty easy calls that they missed. I don't even want to say they missed them. It just seemed to me, and I have no proof of this, but just it seemed to me like they didn't want Miller to lose. It just seemed like Miller can't come into Rockport and lose. They have a ranking, guys. They have a lot to. Miller loses game, they lose a lot. I mean, it's still a long season, but there was a lot for them to fight for. So it was hard. It's a hard pill. It's a hard game to swallow, right? But man, the refs got to make the right call. I don't know if that's exactly what the refs were doing. I'm just saying, to me, with what I saw in this game, I asked the question, are you guys rooting for Miller? Because it seemed that way to me. But that's just what I was thinking. There's no facts to back that up. That's just what I was thinking in my mind from what I was seeing. But Johnny, I thank you for explaining that because yeah, it was awful, man. It was awful. I wouldn't understand. A lot of people around me didn't understand what was going on. So I'm glad that you took the time during this podcast to explain what you saw and what was going on there, and why the coaches went out there, and why our coaches were so desperately trying to fight to correct that because it made a big deal. And if I'm not mistaken, Miller scored. Did they not? He
Yeah.
scored a touchdown. He made it close. So Yeah, hopefully, let's hope, guys, that this doesn't happen again. That the next games that we have, we'll get some good officiating to know. And like you said, Johnny, this could be the first time. We don't know a lot of the background of these officiating. We hope that maybe it was their first time, and there was no, try conspiracy to try to get Miller to win this game, and stick it to Rockport. But it sure looked that way. But as we go on, let's hope that the officiating will be better for both teams. I mean, the best team win on Friday night, guys. So thank you for explaining that on this podcast, Johnny. And if there's nothing else, guys, it was great to break this Rockport game down. We'll do it again next weekend after our game next week. And hopefully we'll be talking about another win for the Rockport for the Pirates. But until then, guys, peace out. It was great talking to you guys. I enjoyed breaking down the Rockport game. Is there something you guys say, Tony? Oh, all right. So until then, guys, peace out, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, peace out.